Well, hello guys, and welcome back to another Rick and Morty review. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Season 3, Episode 7, The Ricklantis Mixup. Now, I remember right before the season premiered, I remember seeing a list of episode names, and one of them being called Tales from the Citadel. And then at some point, the episode title got changed to The Ricklantis Mixup, and I don't know why. I mean, like, if it's supposed to be, like, a misdirection, right? Like, oh, we're doing Ricklantis, but nope, we're actually doing Tales from the Citadel. We already did that. That was the point of Vindicators 3, The Return of World Ender. It starts off like, oh, we're gonna go fight World Ender, but psych, we're instead of fighting Drunk Rick. Same idea here. Oh, we're gonna do Atlantis. Psych, nope, we're doing Tales from the Citadel. I don't get the point. But whatever. This is a really good episode. I know I can almost guarantee some people will be in love with this episode just because of what it does, and we'll get to that. But let's just get into it. It starts off, Rick and Morty are going to go to Atlantis, right? Go on Atlantis Adventures. When another Rick and Morty show up about building, right? Because they're rebuilding the Citadel because, remember, Rick blew it up in the season premiere. I was thinking, like, didn't he blow it up? How is the Citadel still there? And then I was like, I guess he only killed the council. He didn't actually, like, blow it up, and he didn't topple it like he did the galactic government, so I guess it makes sense. And then, right, we cut to our title card, Tales from the Citadel, and we go through the scene of seeing a bunch of different scenes from the Citadel. And I noticed, and you don't notice it on the first time, but as we're going through, we see all the characters who we're going to follow throughout the adventure, right? We see the cop Rick, we see the school children Morty, we see the guy working his 9-to-5 job, right? It sets up all of our stories. So we then see this news broadcast, right? And I love the commercial here, Simple Rick's Cookies, because while it connects to one of the stories, it's just really fucking funny, right? And we learn about the election, and how we've got the candidates running a bunch of Ricks, and then there's a single Morty from the Morty Party. That's also really funny, right? The election, because now we've seen the characters, so now we're setting up them. We get a cop who is new, right? He's new on the block, and he's working as a partner with this Morty who's experienced, but who's also extremely jaded because he treats Mortys like Rick treats Mortys, right? So it's that complicated dynamic, which is an interesting role reversal. And we cut to the school where we see 4 other types of Mortys. I don't remember any of them. There's the Lizard Morty, Smart Morty, Left-Handed Morty, or Fat Morty, and then the Cool Morty, or whatever the hell his name was. And I like Tall Morty. That's really fucking funny, right? Of just, they call him like, don't they call him like Stupid Rick, and then Tall Morty? But I've always wondered, if this is right, the idea of the infinite multiverse and all that, wouldn't there theoretically be an infinite number of universes in which Morty was the genius and Rick was the idiot? And I kind of feel like this is their kind of attempt to address that, right? Because, I mean, like, we've had the first time we ever saw the Citadel with the Rick that eats shit. So is it kind of the same idea, right? And then we see the factory worker who's dead inside, right, working his 9-to-5 job, and he wants a promotion or whatever. But of course, Cool Rick gets it, right? Cool Rick is clearly the stereotypical asshole, the son's boss who always plays golf, right, instead of focusing on business. We see really how the cop Morty treats Mortys, how he just fucking hates them, right? How he sees himself as a partner to the Ricks, and how he sees himself kind of above the Rick, and how, oh, the Rick's new, right? Sensitivity training. Oh, I don't have any of that, right? It's a role reversal, kind of. it's good, right? It's a nice change of pace. Because I like the idea of anthologies. I mean, like, you can make an argument that Interdimensional Cable 1 and 2 are anthology-ish, but this is a real anthology. If I had one problem with it, though, it's okay, one of the greatest anthologies of all time is The Simpsons 22 Tales from Springfield, or 22 short films, or whatever. And one of the great things that does is all the stories, right, they interconnect, and they cut back to one another. This one doesn't really do that. I mean, there are moments, right? So, like, we see the presidential debate, right, where we're following the Morty, and he gives this speech about how, oh, we're all connected. It's actually a pretty inspiring speech, right? And as he's giving the speech, we cut back through all the different stories, right? So this is our reminder. We had our setup at the very beginning. This is our reminder how all the stories are interconnected. And we see his campaign advisor, like, holy crap, this is actually working, before he fires his campaign advisor. And so that's setting up another character. But it's how all the story... Oh my god, I'm going in circles here. But we see the Rick working at the factory. He kills his boss because he's sick of his job, right? Because even though they're all the smartest men in the universe, right? Rick is the smartest guy in the universe. But when everyone's special, no one is. So Rick's kind of bored with the monotony of life because they have just become another society, right? We see Morty giving the speech because now he's up in the polls because people are like, oh, Mortys are idiots. That's why there's Morty Town, right? And the Mortys live in the slums. Nobody expects anything from a Morty. So now we have this Morty party candidate who people actually like. And he says at one point, they ask him, what dimension are you from? And he's like, oh, I've hopped around so many times, I don't even know. And that's it. That's the giveaway he's Evil Morty. At that, I literally just said out loud, oh shit. Because, yep, that's all the information you need. And yes, he is Evil Morty. Spoiler alert. It's made super... That's the giveaway line. And then we see his campaign advisor at the bar, and Trenchcoat Rick gives him these secrets, and it's like, yep, they're basically confirming it. And, well, yeah, we'll get to it. We see the cop Rick and Morty, they break into a house, right? Event the 3rd Street Saints Mortys, the Morty Street Locos, I think they're called. And there's actually, this is a really good moment where he kind of walks into the room, or the Rick cop, and there's like this drug addict Morty, and it's like, oh, sad, right? Oh, I want a Rick, or are you my new Rick? And then the Morty just fucking stabs him. And it's like, it's a nice subversion of expectation. Because again, everyone thinks, oh, Mortys are fucking idiots, right? Nobody expects anything from a Morty. And that's where Morty surprise you. Even I didn't expect this because, again, you don't expect anything from a Morty. And the show's kind of conditioned you to not expect anything from a Morty. Because Mortys are useless. And this episode does a great job at subverting that. In the next scene, Rick goes out and gets a med kit, and the cop Morty burns down the building, and it's like, oh shit. Right? It's a great subversion of what... Because even though there is... Right, we see the Rick at the job, and we see the cop Rick. It's the Mortys that are what's most surprising in this episode. It's the Mortys that catch you off guard, that do more. And then we cut back to the school Mortys who have snuck out, right? They go to a farm, and then they're camping out in the woods because they're looking for the wishing portal. And it was at this exact moment I was like, holy crap, they're doing Stand By Me. Okay, that's fine, right? Stand By Me is fine. And we cut back to the campaign manager and the Rick running for president. And the campaign manager shoots Morty, right? You know what I mean, the Morty running for president. And this is supposed to be Reagan, right? Because even though I don't remember all the details of how Reagan got shot, that's what this is supposed to be, right? It's an obvious parallel. And there are some other parallels here that I will get to, because we are talking about a presidential election, and I know people are going to think one thing, but I don't think they're on the right track, even if they think they are, because the two things sadly parallel each other. Well, yeah, sadly. We cut back to the cop Rick and Morty, and he's a corrupt cop, right? This guy, he literally just spells it out. Oh, we take care of competition because we're corrupt cops. Right? And, of course, the Rick doesn't want to be a corrupt cop, right? It kind of reminds me of the one... of the one good episode from Better Call Saul, the first season. You know the one I'm talking about if you've seen the show. But the cop Rick kills Big Morty, who's running the strip club. Kind of. It's called the Creepy Morty. I don't... Okay, it's fucking weird. But he kills him, and then the cop Morty, God, I've fucked up the names a lot in this video, kills Big Morty, and then Rick kills Cop Morty, right? And we see the guy holding the factory hostage, right? And they give him a portal gun because he says he's more Rick than all of them, right? Because, again, when everyone's special, no one is. So he's rebelling and trying to be special. And they give him a portal gun to the blender dimension, which, of course, he sees straight through. They go to come in and arrest him, right? Because he's a terror Rick. But the owner of the factory is like, no, buddy, we're going to give you freedom. Congrats on rebelling. And it's obvious where this is going, but I still love it how he becomes... Because he kills Simple Rick, so he becomes the new Simple Rick, right? The freedom selects. And now he's getting the memory of freedom replanted in his head over and over again. It's supposed to be... I think it's a metaphor on the monotony of life or some shit like that, but... It's also really fucking funny, the way they do it. We cut back to the Stand By Me Mortys, and they all make their wishes, and the one, he has a name. I've been calling him Cool Morty, but his wish is that things were different, right? That life wasn't stuck like this, because he's been through 5 Ricks. So he decides to give up his life, right, as the sacrifice, because they have to give up something to get their wish granted. You learn it's a garbage dump, which, of course it fucking is. Again, nothing means anything in this show. The cop, even though he confesses to killing Mortys, he gets set off scot-free, right? The kids go back to school, and school's ended. And Morty, because we learned from the manager that, yes, Morty was able to gain presidency, right? And he's in front of all these other Ricks who, it's the idea of the rules for rulers, right? That even though the council used to run the Citadel, these were the people actually running the Citadel behind the scenes, right? It's rules for rulers. Go watch GCP's grade video. He'll do a much better job. He does a much better job explaining it than I ever could. At least unscripted like this. And Morty's like, oh... So you guys run the world, right? Because it doesn't matter who's the president, right? It's just another puppet. And they all agree except for like 2. So Morty kills them all. And it's like, oh, I could give a speech about how it's time to unite. Banners start going up, right? The students are now forced to work at the Mega Seed Farm, making Omega detergent. But he's like, now is not a time for speeches. Now is a time for action. I know people are going to use the obvious political comparison with our recent election of Trump. That's not what this is. This isn't a metaphor for Trump. It's an obvious metaphor for Hitler, right? The National Socialist Party, him killing all the socialists. Hitler was elected in Germany. Him basically making them into Nazis, right? The raising of the banner thing. It's an obvious metaphor for Hitler. And it works, right? It works perfectly fine. And at the end, right, we see a quick reminder of all our stories being tied back in together. And we see all the people who died and a few others throughout this episode all being pushed back into space. And we see the papers the campaign manager got, with, of course, it being Eye Patch Morty. Because, if they didn't confirm... Because, on one hand, I kind of wish they didn't confirm it. Because they give enough hints throughout the episode. But I feel like they have to confirm it. Because, people are going to rampant speculate when it is true. But I know it's this scene, right? And this scene at the end that people are going to make him fall in love with this episode. Because people fucking love Evil Morty. And I see why, right? And this is just a great episode. It really, it's an anthology tale, but usually anthology tales follow the idea of the status quo as God, right? Nothing really changes, nothing bad's going to happen. It's just going to be a bunch of anthology tales, right? Just some fun stuff that's happening, usually a few jokes. But this affects what's presumably the larger story of Rick and Morty, right? And they even say in the end credit scene, which is, they are Rick and Morty, right? C-137 coming back from Atlantis, being like, oh, who cares about the Citadel? It's not like it's going to affect our grander life, right? They're poking fun at the anthology tale by saying that, no, this anthology tale is important. This is going to affect everything else, right? And that's part of what makes it a good episode, is that it matters, unlike most anthology tales, which are in it for the fun, which isn't a problem, because anthology tales can be fun. Look at, again, Interdimensional Cable 1 and 2, even though I'm kind of really sick of Interdimensional Cable 2. And we're not doing an Interdimensional Cable 2, luckily, because instead we're doing Morty's memory shit or something like that. Morty's memory mix-up, which is the next episode. And they're doing that. They've already said that they say in universe they break the fourth wall and say that they're doing this instead of Interdimensional Cable, which I'm glad they are, because Interdimensional Cable 2 is a piece of shit. But yeah, it's a good episode. Definitely check it out. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.